Today I wanted to make a video talking about the front brakes of a Volvo 940. Since I'm in the process of doing a brake overhaul, I thought it would be a great opportunity to show to you guys and talk about them a little bit. Well, my Volvo is from the year 1996, and as far as I'm aware, all Volvos in that year came standard with an ABS, and that means that it has the one piston front brake calipers, as opposed to the older ones for vehicles without ABS, which had two pistons. You can find them on the web. The one piston ones are, I think, called Girling or Lucas, and the other ones I think are Bendix. Regardless, my car has the single piston front brake calipers, which currently makes them easier to find repair kits for. Repair kits for the brake calipers, and that's why I'm having them overhauled. In order to do that, I will need to first remove them, and while I have them off, I'll have the chance to switch and replace the front rotors or discs, since they're quite worn. It's not that they have grooves in them, but they're just worn, and I managed to source out original quality rotors or discs, and I will be replacing them before I put the overhauled front brake calipers. In order to do that, I'll have to lift the car up and do one side at a time. First removing the wheel and then the brake hose. I just went outside and sprayed them with some penetrating lube, so that they're easier to break loose. Since you cannot use a closed wrench, you either have to use an open end one or a line wrench. I don't have a line wrench, so I'll have to make do with an open end one. I didn't have a problem loosening them 4 years ago when I replaced the brake hoses, so they should be alright. And while I'm at it, when I put the new calipers on, I will be flushing the old fluid, which is around 4 years old, a little less than that, and adding in new. As you probably are aware, brake fluid is hygroscopic, which means that it attracts water. So over time, during the cycles of braking and it heating up and cooling off, it will attract water in the brake system, which means all the lines and the master cylinder, the water starts corrosion. So therefore it's a good idea to replace all of the brake fluid in your car. Every 4 years or so, 5 years maybe. I guess it also depends on the climate you're living in. I'll be removing the brake calipers later on the day. I'll just leave them soak in that penetrating fluid for a couple of hours, and then come back and I'll show you how I do it. So this is just a time lapse basically of me lifting up the car and setting it up on jack stands. Currently I'm just loosening the wheel nuts first, and then testing the position for the jack stand, first for the jack and then for the jack stands. It's a tedious process when you're using this type of jack, but it's better to be safe than sorry. This car has already had an accident previously in its life, when it fell on the jack and crunched the rear door. So basically that's what I'm doing. I think finally I got it in the correct position. Now I'm gonna remove the wheel, and only using manual tools and there we go, wheel is off. Always put it underneath the car so that in case of something bad happening, at least it falls down on the wheel and not on your head or hand. And now I'm gonna set up the jack stand, sorry. There it is. I have this piece of wood between it and the frame of the car so that I don't scratch it. And basically that's about it. And now I'm gonna show you how it looks underneath. I already have the driver's side up. There you go, left and right. And that's about it. Alright, so I'm going to remove the passenger side front caliper, and I already have the driver's side removed. So firstly, because I don't want to disconnect the brake hose from the brake line here, I'll keep the hose attached to the brake caliper and remove these two bolts. They are 12 millimeter, and it's not that hard to remove them. From there I'm gonna go behind and remove these two bolts, which take an Allen key. There is another one on the bottom side, and then those two hold the bracket that holds the brake caliper itself. And from there I'm going to basically untie the brake caliper from the brake hose while having the brake hose still attached to the line. And I also made a improvised plug for the brake hose, because I don't want obviously I don't want the fluid leaking out. So let's see how this goes. So I have my 12 millimeter socket on a wrench. I already have this loose, and then I'm gonna loosen the bottom side as well. So now it's just a case of wiggling out the brake caliper. I'm just gonna press it in so I release the pressure, and there we go. It's free. And to loosen the brake hose itself from the brake caliper, I'm going to use a 40 millimeter open end wrench, and it's free. So now I'm going to just take the brake caliper off and rotate it so I can separate it from the brake hose, like so. And now I'm gonna stick the plug on top of the end here, like this. Take one zip tie, tighten it here. Like this, and I'm going to just stick it up there somewhere with another zip tie so that it's out of the way. So now once this is done, I'm going to put back the bolts here so I don't lose them, and get ready to remove the bracket holding the actual brake caliper. And this is the one piston brake caliper I talked about earlier. think you can see how I put the Allen key inside, and these are quite tight. I previously sprayed them with some penetrating fluid, so they should hopefully come out without too big of a fight. I believe last time we had them out, used some blue Loctite. That's why they're so tight. So I finally managed to loosen the top bolt, and this is the bottom one. And as I said, because we used Loctite on them, they were very hard to loosen. I had to get my brother to help me out. Thankfully, it was successful, because otherwise, if we had a stuck or a broken off bolt inside, that would have been game over for today. And the reason why you have to remove them is obvious, because otherwise you cannot get the disc out. And for this purpose, because I'm not only going to have my brake calipers refurbished, I also going to replace the disc. I want to have to do this. This is just all Loctite. There we go. So now you can just remove the bracket like so. There we go. It's not rusty or anything, it was just the Loctite keeping it on. And for safekeeping, I'm just going to put the brake caliper back on the bracket, so that they stay together. And we should be more or less done here. All that's left is to get the disc out, and to do that you need a 10mm open end wrench or a socket, and you have to loosen this bolt or whatever this is. I guess it just helps to keep it in place. It's not actually holding the disc on. What's holding the disc on is you tightening the wheels. And this is the end result. The old disc comes off. It wasn't stuck on the wheel hub because we've used some of this copper grease, I guess you can call it, which helps for it not to rust to the wheel hub. But sometimes they rust to it, and it's quite hard to remove them. Alright, so I have some brake cleaner, and I sprayed the wheel hub with it. I guess if it was very rusty, I would have used this brush, the steel brush that I have. But because it's not, and this is actually, or primer, I guess it's the correct word. I'm searching. I guess some previous mechanic did that so it doesn't rust, and it's quite clean. So I'm just gonna brush it off with some lac, and then spray it again. Let it dry. And I'm going to get some of this copper paste and put some on the surface that makes contact with the disc, which is this inner part and here on the edge. I'm just waiting for it to dry a little. And these I think are SKF bearings. This, yeah. Like this. And that should be more or less enough, I think. Yeah. And now I'm gonna go and get the new disc or rotor. And this is the disc. It is part number 126105, and I got it from eBay, Germany. It's AT. And I mean, I think you can clearly see how different and how much worn the old one is. As I said previously, although it doesn't have any grooves in it, actually I'm sensing some vibrations in the wheel, in the steering wheel, when braking from higher speed, and I think that's because the right brake rotor or disc is bent. So hopefully changing it fixes that problem. According to the instructions that came with the discs, they are covered in this gray primer, and you're not supposed to clean it. You don't have to clean it off, but before installing the refurbished brake calipers and brake pads, I will spray it with some brake cleaner. And now all that's left is that little key. I'm also going to get some of this paste on it, just a little bit. And then use the small ratchet. You don't have to tighten it, just snug it. That's enough. There we go. So now I have both sides with new discs, and so this is the passenger side one, and let me show you the driver side. It's much the same. I'm just going to put the wheels back on the car and get the brake calipers to get them refurbished. And this is what I meant previously about the branding. I think you can see it says Lucas here. I'm gonna get them refurbished, and then I'm gonna have them. I'm gonna put them back on the car once they're ready. So I've got my new refurbished, or not new, but refurbished brake calipers, and I'm going to show you how to put them back on. So first of all, this is the bracket that holds the actual brake caliper, and as you can see, there are these surfaces here, this one and the other one, that make contact here here and up there. And I'm just gonna put a dab of just a small amount of this copper paste I have on that surface, and then I'm going to put the cleaned bolts back in. They go like this from this side and thread into the bracket here. I'm going to put some blue Loctite back on them, and there we go. I hope you can see, because it's a little bit dark here, but I just put some of this Loctite on the shank of the bolt, and now I'm going to tighten it. With this Allen key, which is 10mm. There we go. That's torqued to spec, as they say. I just make sure that it is tight, because that's the main. Those are the main two bolts holding the actual front brakes. And the next step is to get the brake caliper itself. And there it is. And I'm going to make sure that there is this stainless steel plate on which the brake pads line. They make contact with it here, and I'm going to make sure that this is clean, and I'm going to put some of this copper paste back on it so that they don't squeal when they break. But otherwise, it has been refurbished. It has new piston inside and new dust boot, I guess you can call that. And now I've removed the bleeding screw, or the bleed nipple, and sprayed some brake cleaner so that I know that it is perfectly clean on the inside. I've let it air out and dry, and I'm going to put the bleeding screw back on. I already have a hose attached to it because I'm going to have to bleed the brakes. So the next step is going to be a very messy one. And the way you recognize a left from a right, or a passenger from a driver's side brake caliper, is that the bleeding screw or nipple has to be always on the top side of the brake caliper when installed. So it will be installed like this in the car, and as you can see, it is currently on the top side. Next, I'm going to be removing the improvised plug I did on the brake hose and carefully threading the brake caliper back onto it, and then tightening it with a 15mm, or I think it was 14 actually. Yeah, well, with a 14mm end of the open-ended wrench. Once I've done that, I will use one of the small 12mm bolts that go on the top side and the bottom side of the brake caliper that go here. I will be using the bottom one and putting it with the caliper so that it can stay like this in the car, which will allow me to put the brake calipers, the brake pads inside. But before I do that, let's not forget, this is the cleaned, I guess, stainless steel plate, and I'm going to be putting it back on the brake caliper. It goes on the inside, it goes like so, and this bit here goes on this side. So as you can see, you have the brake caliper already installed, and here you have the two bolts, the up one and the bottom one, and the bleed nipple installed, and also the brake hose. And now I'm showing that you're able to rotate the disc freely. And this is the old fluid that I came out. Remember, I'm also going to be changing the brake fluid, and this is the one that I'm using. It's the same brand as the discs and as the original fluid that was used in the car. Now I'm in the process of bleeding the rearmost, the passenger side rear brake caliper, and my father is in the car pressing the brake pedal, pumping it until fluid starts to come out. I'm also monitoring the amount of brake fluid that is left inside the reservoir in the engine bay. Currently there's no bubbles coming out, so all we're doing is just bleeding out the old fluid, and until we see clear flowing out. On the brake fluid can, it says it's good. It's recommended to change it every 2 years. This hasn't been changed, I believe, in 4, but it's still not that bad looking, so it should be alright. So yeah, every time I'm opening the breathing screw, breathing nipple, I'm saying to my father that it's open, and then I say when it's closed, and then he pumps the pedal a couple of times, and then we repeat. And now this is the driver side rear brake caliper, and again the same situation, up and down and up and down, looking for bubbles. It's very important to have the end of the hose inside in the actual brake fluid that is in the brake jar and the bottom of the screen, you can see. And also keep in mind, take a note at the level of the brake fluid inside the reservoir, so that you don't run out of it, and then you have to repeat the same process from the beginning. But basically that's the whole process. Then I'm going to move to the passenger side front, and then the driver side front.
I don't know how well you can hear
I believe we did them,
but this is the first test drive after I
2 times,
changed
just
the
to be
brake
sure.
calipers and the brake rotors.
And I
Currently,
think in
I'm
whole
holding the brake pedal
I used
pressed a little bit
one
so that
of the
I,
brake cans with the brake fluids,
scrap,
more or less.
the
I
paint
had
of
a little
the,
bit left
brake,
when
rotors.
I was finished.
Otherwise, the pedal
So
feel
as you can see,
is
here I'm looking at the brake fluid level,
I think.
and it looks like
pedal goes
it's
a
around the
little bit
minimum.
too much farther
So
down
I'm
than
going to add a little bit.
was used to. But I think I tried to measure it, and according to the instruction, when you have the car and the engine off, and you press the pedal a couple of times, and then you measure it, it should be around 55 millimeters. And Obviously, I didn't bring a ruler or anything with me, but just eyeballing it, it looked around about 55 millimeters. I'm going to try to brake a little bit harder now, picking up some speed. Well, there's still, I would say, too much of a pedal movement, but I mean, the car now stops. I'm gonna make another go around. I'm gonna pick up some speed now again. It looks alright. Alright guys, so I finally finished the brake job. I have the car on all four wheels. I did a short test drive with it and figured out that I've got good pedal feel, and that here you can see on the brake discs the paint or primer that they had has worn. That means now hopefully the brake calipers and the brake pads have seated, and we're gonna go on a bigger test drive in a little bit. I hope I managed to show you guys what it takes to do your own brake calipers and brake pads of a Volvo 940, although this could refer to any car really. It could you know, regardless of what make or model your car is, you should be able to do that on your own if you have a jack and some jack stands and some basic tools. And I hope that I can motivate you to do it yourself. Thank you for watching.